Okay, boxing fans, so Jermain Taylor shocked the world by beating Sam Soliman, who we have to say is probably the weakest of the people who call themselves world champion at 160 pounds, also known as middleweight. But we have to admit he's a champion nonetheless, and now Jermain Taylor is a champion nonetheless. The fight was a good fight for Soliman through the first 5 rounds. I had Soliman 4-1 up, straight through it outside the first 5. It was looking like, I'd wasted my money on Jermain Taylor, but in round 6, Jermain Taylor got his first knockdown, which was like a bit of a push/jab, and Sam Soliman went down. His legs seemed to disappear pretty much straight after that, and the fight turned on its head. He actually went down 3 times in round 6, pretty much of his own accord, and somewhere in there, I think between there and round 7, there was some kind of damage that was done to his leg, and then it just amplified throughout the fight to the point where he was literally a guy hopping around on 1 foot. In the 12th round, he looked like he was about to collapse. Taylor got knockdowns pretty much in each of the round, and that ultimately made it a fair decision at the end, which I think no one can really argue with. That was about it, really. There was a knockdown in round 9, which looked to be the best knockdown for Jermain Taylor. It was a big right hand, but then again, it was just exactly what it was. You look at the replay, you see the right hand landed flush on the shoulder. Sam Soliman was hopping away in a straight line backwards. So most of the knockdowns were pretty much nothing knockdowns. It was just a bit of a shit fight, really. It was a good fight, but a shit fight at the same time. In terms of you got a bit of action, you got a bit of drama, but at the end of the day, it was just because of unluckiness, really. So I've got the guys here. I've got Paul, I've got Kingy, and I've got Rory. I'll start with Paul, actually. You right, Paul?
Thanks, mate.
Good, mate. So I'm going to start with you now. Jermain Taylor is the new world champion. Was you impressed by Jermain Taylor in that fight?
I wouldn't say I was impressed by his performance, sort of thing. I'm impressed that he managed to win and get himself a world title after he's been out for so long, and now he's not been a world level fighter or on the world scene for 6-7 years. So I'm impressed that he's managed to get himself a belt again. But was I impressed with what he did on the night? No, not really. To be honest, I think he's very, very shot. He's never going to get back to the fighter he was. And like I said, fair play to him for winning. But I think it had more to do with the fact that Soliman got injured, rather than the fact that Taylor managed to turn back the clock on anything.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I'll bring in Kingy for the same question. Kingy, there?
Yeah.
What did you think about Jermain Taylor's fight? Were you impressed with him?
No, I wouldn't say impressed, but I was surprised, really. I thought he fought a lot better than I thought he could. But I think a lot of the fight did come down to the knee. As soon as the injury happened, the fight was really over for him, because he had no back leg. I mean, every time he got hit, you absorb the punishment of a punch on your back leg, don't you? And he just, crumpled every time. So I think that made a big difference. Sorry.
I suppose so. Rory, what did you make of that, mate?
It was, for the first sort of 5 or 6 rounds prior to the knee, I think it was very much a fight that was much of a muchness. It was, neither man was really impressing in any way, and Taylor didn't bring anything new to the table, But as Kingy kind of said, once that Soliman's knee had gone and he sustained that injury, Taylor was able to walk all over him like he was a pavement. He was just flat on his back for half the fight, and Soliman just literally couldn't do a thing. It was it was there for Taylor to just do what he wanted to at will.
That's right. I mean, I personally wasn't impressed either. I mean, for me, he was losing the fight up until when the leg injury occurred. But when Sam Soliman lost at geography, Taylor took full advantage, and you have to give him credit for that. I mean, he may have made some money, which was nice, but at the same time, I think we saw a bit of deterioration in Jermain Taylor as well, and what skills he does have, because I would expect a fully mobile boxer fighting at the championship level. He should be able to stop a boxer with one leg who's hopping around the ring, and he didn't do that. And to be honest, I don't think he ever looked like he was going to, unless the referee pulled out Sam Soliman. So I don't see him as a much better fighter than Sam Soliman at this period in time. In the past, he would have destroyed Sam Soliman, really, if we're all honest about it, but not now. Sam Soliman lost the geography, and that was that. Sam Soliman was one of the weakest champions of the division, and now he's lost to Jermain Taylor, who took that belt, and that is that. I'll move on to the next question with Paul. Do you think that Jermain Taylor could compete against the top middleweights?
It depends on what you mean by top middleweights. Do you mean the guys in the top 10, or do you mean the guys like in the top 2, 3?
I mean the guys who've got the titles.
Well, maybe, but with some guys, I'm absolutely no way with others. If he fought GGG, I've said this before. If that fight was ever made, I think the person responsible for making it should be thrown in jail, to be perfectly honest, and I really think Jermain Taylor should not be allowed to fight GGG for his own safety. If he fought Cotto, no, I don't think he'd beat Cotto. I know Cotto's smaller than Taylor is, but again, Cotto's got far more left in the tank than Taylor has at this point, so I don't think he could compete in that. And who's the other guy with the belt at the minute?
Well, you can.
WBO. Is it vacant, the WBO belt now?
Yeah, well, you can still count Quillen if you want. What do you think?
Okay, if he fought Quillen, maybe he could beat Quillen, because I don't think much of Quillen, to be honest. I know he's got power, Quillen, and maybe he could stop Taylor, because Taylor can be stopped. But I don't really think Quillen is is the monster people make him out to be. So maybe if he fought Taylor, it would be an interesting fight.
What about Daniel Jacobs?
Daniel Jacobs, I think I'd probably pick Taylor in that fight, to be honest. If he doesn't get any worse than he already is, then I'd probably pick Taylor.
Okay, that's cool. What do you think, Kingy? Do you think Taylor can compete against the top middleweights?
No, I don't reckon. I mean, I saw a lot of vulnerabilities in him last night. I really did, and I'd actually be really worried for his health if he went in there with someone who was really good. Because at the end of the day, Soliman really isn't in the top 10 of the middleweights at all. I think he just sort of stumbled across Stern when he was done. Got the belt off him, and I'd be really worried if he fought someone like Quillen with the power that he's got, especially after he's had brain bleeds and things like that. It's just, I still don't think he should be fighting. I'm thinking of the man, more than the fight. Like I don't want people to die. I'm not that up for being entertained. Needed someone to be like near death just to watch it. But.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Raw?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Taylor now, and last night's performance, it was the epitome of a shot fighter. I mean, if you look at that fight and you saw what happened, let's be honest, the only reason he won that fight was luck. And the luck of it was that Sam Soliman caused himself quite a serious injury by, falling and landing funnily and hurting his knee. If that didn't happen, there's no way, there's not a cat in hell's chance I'd say Taylor would have won that fight if it wasn't for that injury. And if you look at that, then you kind of go, well, in essence, he's a bit of a false world champion by winning this. He's not really won it, he's kind of just stumbled across it. Luckily, the events that happened last night led to him being a world champion. If I was him, and if I was any sort of advisor of him, I'd just kind of say, you've won a world title, you've done all you pretty much can in the sport. Anyone else in that division, I'd probably say anyone else in the top 10 would probably beat him, judging by last night's performance. And also, like Kingy said, you look at the numerous medical conditions and medical problems he's had, and the problems that he's got going on outside of the ring as well, and you kind of think, well, you look at the numbers, you look at the figures, you do the mathematics, and you go, well, is it worth him carrying on? And I just don't think it is,
That's a good point, yeah. That's a very good point. So, we'll go back to Paul. Jermain Taylor does have a mandatory now. He's got 4 months, so he can do what he wants, fight who he wants. But after that, he's got to fight Hassan and Dam and Jikam. What do you think about that? Is that a hard fight for Taylor?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, because although that Njikham's no great shakes, in my opinion, as the boys have said, Taylor is just very, very shot. Now, to be perfectly honest, and any fight in the top 20 for him would be hard. To be honest, that Njikham, it wasn't he the guy who got knocked down about 5 million times by Quillen?
That's right, yeah.
Or something like that, yeah. And Taylor's not got any power. Never really has it. Never even had power in his prime either. So he's definitely not got it now. So even though if you say Njikham's vulnerable, I don't think Taylor could hurt him. To be perfectly honest. So yeah, it would probably be a hard fight for Taylor. Not because Njikham's anything great, just because of where Taylor's at now, what stage he's at in his career.
I agree. I mean, Njikham's a fighter who's not going to make it easy for him as well. Taylor's only real chance of winning will be if he took it to a phone box, but I don't think he's going to try and do that. So he'll be on the move a bit using the geography. But we'll move on. Kingy, what are your thoughts on the Njikham fight?
Yeah, pretty much agree with Paul. It's just going to be a really hard fight for him. Really awkward kind of fighter, isn't he? So just think he'd win pretty easy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Rory, what have you got for me?
Yeah, like I said, previously, I just think anyone that goes up against Taylor now, I'd even say prospects at middleweight would have a much better chance than Taylor would. And it's a shame to see, but I just think he's gone that far past having any real, great shakes at being at that level, that I think he's going to be an underdog no matter who he faces, really. And Njikham's got enough to probably take him, and he's a faded fighter, and I think anyone has a chance if they fight him, really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see Njikham pretty much beating Jermain Taylor every single day of the week, twice on Tuesdays. The problem is with Jermain Taylor and guys like Sam Soliman is these are guys fighting for world titles, and they're basically not good enough to hold on to them. That's the point. And this is the problem with the IBF title now. It's getting passed around like the peace pipe. Nobody has made a successful defence of this title since Daniel Gill, if you think about it. And how many fights back with that since he's had it? So it's just getting passed around. And I think it'll go again to Njikham. And then he'll probably look for a big money fight. And then, I don't know, if he fights someone someone half decent, he might lose the title. And then there you go, it's on again, isn't it? So I don't know. So we'll go back to Paul. What do you reckon about Peter Quillen? He's linked with a fight with Jermain Taylor now. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd probably, as I said before, I wouldn't write Taylor's chances off completely, because Quillen's not as good as he's made out to be, in my opinion. But I'd probably still pick Quillen to win it, to be honest, because Taylor, it's not there anymore, is it, to be honest? He's very, very slow, perfectly honest now. His jab's not what it was. And as we've said, Soliman was winning the fight until he broke his ankle. And when you take movement away from Sam Soliman, then you've got him beat, to be perfectly honest, because Soliman's a mover. He doesn't have any fights up close, like in a phone box or anything like that. So once his ankle went, all Taylor had to do was basically it sounds incredibly simple, all Taylor had to do was just throw punches.
Yeah.
Because Soliman
swing away.
Yeah. Soliman was not going to hit him with anything back. What was he? As soon as that injury occurred, the fight was over. And I don't think he'd get lucky like that again against anyone. Whether it was Quillen, whether it was Njamo or whatever he's called. If he's going to win his next fight, he has to absolutely win it and just not get lucky. And I wouldn't put any money on him winning it, put it that way.
Yeah, I suppose maybe the lucky thing for Jermain Taylor is Al Heyman gets his matchmaking skills from his matchroom, so he might get a good easy defence against the number 73 middleweight. Like
I've said though, he's at the point now in his career where if he fought anyone, would it be an easy defence? he's that shot.
Probably not. You're right. Yeah, I do agree with you there, Paul. Kingy, what are your thoughts? Peter Quillen versus Jermain Taylor.
I don't want the fight to happen, but I think the fight's going to happen. I really do. Like you say, they're both with Al Heyman. Probably about the best amount of money that Jermain Taylor could make, because he's not going to get a fight with, like, we don't want him to get a fight with GGG, and he's not going to get a fight with Cotto or anything like that. So I think it's just, for him, it's all about the money. It's just straight mathematics for him, isn't it? So he's just going to take the best fight that he can for the money, I'm pretty sure. So I can see the Quillen fight definitely happen, but there might be a really easy defence, because like you say, Heyman likes to protect his guys and make a few quid off him while he can, get the money back he's invested. And then maybe you'll think that you can have a guy that's defended the title against a no one and build him up a bit to feed him to Quillen in the end, to boost Quillen's career.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, very good point. Rory, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a done deal, the whole Quillen thing. I think that the fact they both, come under the Al Heyman banner is pretty much an indication of that. In all honesty, I just don't want Taylor to fight again. I don't think it interests me as a fight, as a boxing fan. Yeah. I just think that shot that, like all the guys have said, no matter who he fought, I don't think he'd have a great chance. And I just think that he doesn't need to fight. He's been in some big fights at super middleweight as well, and I just think that this is probably a bit of a step down. Even though he's now a world champion, I think it's a bit of a step down from the fights he's been in. Say perhaps 4 years, 3-4 years ago maybe.
No doubt.
And it's just obviously I don't know what's going on, and what's his situation with finances and stuff like that. But I'd hate to see a guy who's been at the top level, have to take these sort of fights and have to take fights where I just don't think he'd have a cat and mouse chance,
Yeah, I agree. Basically, my opinion is basically we do know this is Al Heyman matchmaking, and we're not naive. Heyman's probably gonna make an easy fight for his guys in between, and then maybe then he'll try and sort out some kind of fight with Peter Quillen somehow. But if he waits, the truth is he's got to do it like now. He's got to sign Quillen Taylor now, because if he waits any longer, he's got to fight in Jickham, and unless they can screw in Jickham, then I don't see how they're going to do it. But we'll move on to the final question. Paul, is the Triple G fight a job Taylor need not apply for?
Say it again, mate. That fight gets made. I really think someone really needs to just be locked up for cruelty. To be honest, I don't want to see Taylor, what's left to him, get absolutely, smashed into the floor. You'd have to get a mop and bucket for that fight. To be honest, Taylor, please, I don't want to see that fight. Please, don't make that fight happen. Please, exactly. I don't want to see a guy like Taylor. Because we said he's shot, we said he's got lucky, but at the end of the day, in his prime, Jermain Taylor was a fucking good fighter, man. Yeah. Unified middleweight champ. I've seen him beat up enough times, I've seen him have enough bad losses. I don't want to see Golovkin just, I don't want to see him fed to the Rottweilers. I really don't.
He's not the same guy who beat Bernard Hopkins. He's not the
same.
No,
he's not at all.
I mean, people say
he's not even the same guy who was on the verge of beating Carl Froch.
Exactly.
And many people considered him past it then.
That's right.
I really don't want to see that fight at all. That fight was made. I'd be really, really disappointed in the sport, to be honest, because I don't know why anyone would want to see that fight.
That's right. I mean, one person actually on our discussion video about the fight, if it should be made or not, actually was saying we were disrespectful because Jermain Taylor is the former undisputed middleweight champion. And I'm thinking, my thoughts is, yeah, but he's not the undisputed champion anymore. He's, like you said, the former. He's not as good as he was then. That's that. That was then, this is now. Totally different times, totally different fighters. I mean, that's all I've got. Kingy, what are you thinking, pal?
Just reiterating what Paul said, really. I watched that fight with Soliman with worry, for his health, because watching the guy as a kid, like beating Bernard Hopkins twice, is You know, he's an absolutely brilliant fighter, and I don't want to see that. I don't even think I'd watch it, to be honest. Because I'd just be too worried the whole time that something's going to badly happen to him. You know, and it doesn't need to happen, does it? That's the thing, you know.
No.
It doesn't need to happen. We see it too often with fighters keep coming back when they just need not to.
But then again, he holds the world title now, and that's something that maybe Triple G wants to have, another world title around his waist. So
I know, but at the end of the day, we all know guys that aren't even in the top 10 can get a world title. It's not like it was, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Even in the 80s when there was 2 belts, there was always 2 guys that were very good, and if they fought each other, it was always a legitimate fight, you know.
Yeah.
This just isn't.
Rory, do you have anything to add?
Pretty much echoing the same guys. I just think it'd be a lamb, you know, fed to the slaughter if that was the case. And it's a fight we don't want to see. It's a fight that, as we've seen with Taylor putting the odd video online where he doesn't perhaps seem the you know, all there. The last thing you need for your mental health is Triple G knocking lumps out your head, you know. And I tell you what, just to kind of go off that, keep on the same subject, the one fight I may want to see at middleweight would possibly be Sergio Martinez, Jermain Taylor, 2 guys who are way past it, but both have been at the top of the middleweight game, and it'd be a relatively 50-50 fight. I don't think either of them would be at risk of knocking each other out, and it'd be an okay fight if he had to have one more. You know, but saying that, I don't think either of them. I think they'd have to wheel both of them in, really. But if that's what I'm suggesting is a decent fight, then it kind of shows that especially Taylor probably shouldn't be fighting again. You know.
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I suppose Sam Soliman could lend Sergio Martinez his only good leg, and then there might be a good fight, you know, a fair fight. Taylor fights a guy with 2 legs, but you know, it is what it is. Jermain Taylor is the number 1. Well, he's not. No, I can't say that. He's the IBF number 1 anyway. He holds the title, and he is a worldwide recognised world champion again. So congratulations to Jermain Taylor. Thanks for winning me a few quid, and thanks for listening to the video.